Max Verstappen at Mercedes could be awesome. I don't feel like reiterating everything that's going on at Red Bull currently. There are enough other YouTubers that can do that for me. I just know that the fate of Max Verstappen staying at Red Bull hangs in the hands of whatever happens to Dr. Helmut Marko, as the Verstappens are loyal to him. Toto Wolff is capitalizing on this by saying Marko could have a role like Niki Lauda had at Mercedes, and he also said that Max Verstappen is an option for the Mercedes 2025 seat. So here are 5 reasons why Max Verstappen at Mercedes could be awesome. I'm Wimbo. Here's 3 seconds to leave a like. 5. Confusion. With the tribalism in F1 reaching its peak in the 2021 season, where Max Verstappen driving for Red Bull and Lewis Hamilton driving for Mercedes had a mighty battle, a lot of fans picked a side and clearly have no love for the other side. F1 media has taken full advantage of that, and in my space, the YouTube space, many content creators have their favorite and love dishing out slander on the other party involved. I'm not judging that, as I'm part of the same hypocrisy. We've seen the cringeworthy images of a Max fan burning a Mercedes cap, and I know of some huge Twitter accounts that do nothing but praise Mercedes and hate on Max. Those people, who undoubtedly support a driver more than the team, will have to start buying Mercedes merchandise, and all of a sudden will have to like Toto Wolff and his antics. I'm a little confused myself now after all the videos I made about Toto Wolff and Mercedes. All those Mercedes accounts who are actually Lewis Hamilton fans are shifting to Ferrari, no doubt. I just wonder how they'll look at the team they have supported for years when the arch enemy joins. This is a little detail of the possible move from Max Verstappen to Mercedes that I find amusing already. It'll keep the community busy, I know that for sure. 4. Popularity. I've mentioned in dozens of videos that Red Bull doesn't get treated the same way Mercedes does. To me, there's a clear bias in how news is reported when it's Red Bull in the spotlights compared to Mercedes. Red Bull itself is keen on keeping the always the rebel reputation, but it's not always working in their favor. Now, I don't know if Mercedes was being favored by the media because Lewis Hamilton was there, and later another English driver joined in George Russell, but I'm curious to see how news about Mercedes will be reported once Verstappen is there. Mercedes is very good in the PR part of being a big manufacturer. It was sickening at times, to be honest. However, Max Verstappen being in a team that was in the news in a negative way so often was also not very nice at times. It always felt like Max Verstappen had a battle on track and outside with the media. Maybe he can learn from Mr. PR himself, George Russell.
George, what are you doing? We've got content to film.
Meditating.
To go about things in a way that will please everybody. The days of the unhinged Max should be behind him now, don't you think? So, a silver lining of Max Verstappen moving to Mercedes could be that he'll be in a very popular team and his focus can be completely on racing again instead of having to fend off questions about his team. I'm sure that if he starts dominating again, people will all of a sudden love it. Just like when Lewis Hamilton was dominating in a Mercedes. 3. 2 teams. One of the things that Max Verstappen gets criticized for is the fact that he won all of his championships in one team, whereas other legends of the sport did it in several teams. Lewis Hamilton did it with McLaren and Mercedes, although the first one is still pending. Michael Schumacher did it with Benetton and Ferrari, and Fangio did it with 3 teams if I remember correctly. Let me know in the comments if that's right. How awesome would it be if Verstappen joined the struggling Mercedes team next season and started building towards another dominant spell in F1? That would make all the Max haters fans, no doubt. Helmut Marko, Jos Verstappen, and his manager by his side at Mercedes, Toto Wolff's unwavering support, the love of the British media and the fans in the stands all behind him would make it possible for Max to achieve that. As you can tell, I have a very rich fantasy and I do love wandering off in my mind to picture things before they happened. I'm also a little naive. If that's something you like about my content, then why don't you find the subscribe button and get more of my recommended videos on your timeline. I make 2 videos per week, I do live streams and a podcast monthly. Thanks a million! 2. Allison Merchant. Another thing I hear a lot on social media is that Verstappen only wins because he drives a car built by Adrian Newey. The fact that all the other drivers in the same car can't keep up with him doesn't seem to count. They get written off as bad drivers. So Max Verstappen gets called a Newey merchant and that diminishes his epic achievements. No matter how often it gets explained how sensitive and hard to drive Newey cars are, people are still not giving Max credit where it's due. So I hope that Max Verstappen at Mercedes will help develop another rocket ship with James Allison. That Allison will praise Verstappen for his concise and direct feedback on what the car does and what he wants it to do to make it go faster, and then start making Mercedes a winning team again. After all, Max Verstappen knows what a race car needs, just like he did with Newey at Red Bull. I'm sure Max Verstappen will get the praise he deserves when this happens. Or will people say he needs to do it at Ferrari too? 1. Competition. The only way Red Bull can be stopped at the moment is by the internal politics that are going on right now. If Marko and the Verstappen clan leave, then obviously Red Bull will be weaker. Ferrari looks a little bit stronger with Hamilton in their midst, although that's debatable seeing his form now. And Mercedes with Verstappen in the lineup will be stronger. I don't know which driver Red Bull will put in Verstappen's seat, but it will be a lesser driver than Verstappen. I heard that the Thai side of Red Bull wants Alex Albon and Oscar Piastri, and they don't mind paying for them, as they have binding contracts for 2025. As much as I like those two drivers, they are not on the same level as Max Verstappen, even in a Newey package. I also read that Christian Horner thinks Red Bull will still be a winning team after Marko, Verstappen and Ford drop out of the deals they have. It's also been disclosed that Horner deliberately ruined the Porsche deal because they wanted to be shareholders too, which got in the way of his own plans. So if Max, Marko and Ford leaving is going to happen, we can be sure that 2025 will be a banger season with maybe as many as 5 teams fighting at the same level. I love seeing Verstappen win, don't get me wrong, but the prospect of a season like that makes me very excited. I would also admire Max Verstappen for leaving a winning team out of loyalty to the person that made it possible. The easy option would be to sit tight and pretend nothing is going on, but another championship would be worthless if it happened over the back of Helmut Marko. Now don't get me wrong, in an ideal situation, Red Bull will resolve all their issues and every party involved will make some concessions to not destroy this thing of beauty they have going on. They must realize how special this dominant period is. It would be such a waste to let it all be ruined by greed and lust for power. But if everything does go sideways and Max Verstappen trades in Red Bull for Mercedes, then there are reasons to look forward to it when it happens. I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care now. Doei doei. A special thanks to my channel members. Your help is much appreciated. If you want to support this channel too, click the link down below.